In this lecture, I am going to talk about while loop. How much did I spend today? Well, we've been using for loop for a while now, no pun intended. In this example, I have a list called expenses, which have 4 items. Using the accumulator pattern, I can find a total of $17.95, $15.95, $3.99, and $5.99. And let me show you in Repel It what they look like when I run it. I already prepared this code, so I will go to Repel It and I will paste it and let run this. The sum of this is 4388. Great. I can calculate the sum of 4 items in the list. But in this one here, I hard-coded the expenses. So this program can only work if the expenses is like this, or every time I need to calculate different expenses, I have to update the list. Well, you might thinking, I can ask user for input. Okay, so let's change the program to ask user for input inside the loop and update the total. In this case, I have 4 items, so I do for I in range 4. An item is, ask user to enter the amount and calculate the total. I also have this program written, as you can see in the lecture slide. So let me run that in the Repel It. And I'm going to overwrite this. So how much did I spend today? I got a gas at 30.23, grocery 77.34, bought a chip 3.99, and 2.99 for some miscellaneous stuff. I spent $114.55 today. But this one here, I only do 4 items, right? The loop only execute 4 times, so only work if you know I have how many times to purchase. So you say that you say, okay, so why don't I make how many times to purchase as a variable and ask user how many time how many purchases, and then I can have a loop to iterate that many times. That work. However, it's not that intuitive because the user had to count how many purchases he or she make, and it may not be easy to figure out how many purchases you have. So this really not, I mean, it worked, but it's not as desired, I would say. So what do we do then? Here comes the while loop. In a while loop, if a while condition, while the condition is true, it will execute the statement inside the while loop. It will repeat the statement as long as the condition is true. And again, notice that the colon and the indentation just like the for loop. In the while loop, there's a for part. Initialization set up the loop so that it can execute the first time. So I want to initialize something so that when I check the condition, it will execute, or maybe not execute, depending on the condition. And then a condition statement, a Boolean expression, just like the one you find in the if-else statement, that control whether the loop execute again. For example, counter less than num. This is the condition. As long as this condition is true, the loop execute. False, the loop does not execute. Body. What does the loop do? In this case, I have a accumulator, so I have sum plus equal to counter, accumulate the sum variable. Update. The loop control variable need to be updated so that eventually the condition will be false so you can get out the loop. And this is one of the most problem that sometimes people forget to update the loop variable and result in an infinite loop. So four parts of every loop: initialization, condition, update, and body. If a one pass in and one pass out. So while loop, while some condition is true, do something. Like when you're washing a clothes, while stain, keep washing until you clean. It's very natural of kind of mimic everyday repetitive condition. So while loop give more control to user, and it might result in the infinite loop if the condition remain unchanged. The for loop typically is simpler and safer. Um, and typically you will see for loop like the previous example used for the sequence data such as list and string. It leaves user much less control, but it's much easier to use. Which one you use depend on the problem. So let's do couple exercise here. Use a for loop to display COM 101 rocks 10 times. Okay, so let me erase this. I want to display COM 101 10 times. You know, if you want to do something 10 times, you need a loop. In this case, it's a for loop. For I in range 10, print COM 101 rocks. And let me run this. Hey, it print 10 times. That's good. You should know how to do this from the previous lectures. Now, how about using while loop? Print COM 101 rocks 10 times using while loop. Remember the four parts of every loop: initialization, condition, body, and update. In the initialization is you want to set a condition where you can run the loop. For example, I want to do something 10 times. Maybe I want to say count is set to equal to 0 initially. Condition, while count is less than 10. Body, you print the COM 101 rocks. And how about the update? I want to update the count such that it will getting bigger and bigger, so that eventually this condition will be false and I can get out the loop. So let's write this while loop. And let me erase this. So initialization, I set counter to 0. While the count is less than num, in this case 10. If the counter is less than 10, then I want to print COM 101 rocks. And don't forget the update. Four parts of every loop: initialization, condition. This is your body, which is a simple print statement, and update. So let's run this, and you can see COM 101 rocks display 10 times. So let's write a function called num between odd, start and end that uses for loop to display the list of odd number between start and end. And also write a function called num between even, start and end that using while loop to display the list of even number between start and end inclusive, including the end number. I want you to think about how to do this. and I would go over this during our lecture time.